So let's do, I want to quickly do a quick recap on what skills you'd be needing for to survive and to attempt your listening very well. We already know that throughout IELTS, synonyms is a very pivotal part of the IELTS exam. Whether you are doing listening, reading, writing, or you are doing speaking, synonym is very important in how you answer or how you come to your answers eventually. Synonyms play very pivotal parts. All right, so we know that applies to your listening too. So number two, we must be very, very careful and be very sure that we understand and make use of, or is able to spot the issue of paraphrasal. Now, apart from changing particular words, IELTS will paraphrase stuff for you. They can take the same words from the back in the audio and take it to another sentence, from another sentence in the audio and take it to the back. Maybe the first sentence mentioned that particular item, but in your question, it is just one sentence, but that particular item from the previous sentence in your audio can be taken to the maybe latter part of the question in your passage, in which case they may eventually mention your answer before they mention some particular words. Okay, so we have said number one, synonym, number two, paraphrasal. You must know that they twist things. What may be the subject of the sentence in the audio may not be the subject of the sentence in the question. So they twist this, and they have this twist that they do from time to time for questions. So having said that, then the major thing as it comes to listening and reading is your clue. And when it comes to your listening, clue is a major part. Really, they may say, okay, we understand the part, that part where they ask, we are meant to predict our answer. For example, in this case, this example that is saying at us, if we say the main hall seats dash, how many people does the main hall seat? Okay, or the main hall can contain how many? Then we have 200. So you know that at that point in time, we are talking about number. Okay, then here in the next one, they said room and cost. The dash room, I think there's a kind of room we're looking for here. So you should be able to maybe the conference room or the banquet hall, banquet room, or executive room. You can also predict or think ahead of the audio. Whenever they ask you to go through questions so and questions so, please do make sure that you go through them in order to be able to get your answers, get predictions for your answers, so that by the time you get the prediction, it becomes a bit less cumbersome, less tedious for you to get your answer. But more importantly, your clues are very, very important. The words, for example, the main hall is a major clue here. But do you know that they could say several things about the main hall? But here, what the capacity of the main hall is the major, what's it called now, clue. So you should be able to spot your clues and learn how to use your clues to get your answer. We have said earlier that clues can be used to either spot your either spot your answer. They can be used to help you to know the progression of your work, because sometimes once we've gone to from question 15 to 16, for example, IELTS would mention the subject of the question of question 16. And if you are still looking at question 15 and you have not gotten your answer, that subject that has been mentioned in the audio has shown that you have moved from the previous place, despite the fact that you have not gotten the answer. So you should move also. So it also helps you to understand the projection, the progression of your question. So as it were now, these are the three major things. Every other thing is if individuals have been able to, they have the basic skills that they need in order to be able to answer a typical listening question correctly. Now, what are the key skills you need apart from these other skills that are peculiar to IELTS? You can't say you understand the white man if you have not gotten used to how they speak. So how do you get used to how a white man speaks? It is by watching or consuming the items that are in their media. Watch their videos, documentaries, news, and the rest of them like that. If you are not the type that have been watching this, then it becomes an issue. So I always say that for grown-ups, adults who don't spend time with foreign media, with documentary, this in all you consume is local content. Before at the time like this, during this your preparation to write this exam, then there is a need for you to basically just change your media diet in order for you to be able to have a good chance to score very high in your listening. So we'll go from here. So let me just quickly play the audio. Okay, I don't know whether there's any question before we move on. Before I play the audio, then we begin to see how clues and synonyms, are going to what's it called now? Help us to get answers. Like I said, our class is still going to end by 9 today. So let's quickly get it started. All right, so let's go.
All the recordings will be played once only. The test is in 4 sections. At the end of the test, you will be given 10 minutes to transfer your answers to an answer sheet. Now turn to Section 1. Section 1. You will hear a telephone conversation between an official at a village hall and a woman who wants to hire a public room. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 6.
So questions 1 to 6. The first one is the type of room. The second one is the cost of the main hall for Saturday evening costs. So you're looking for a digit or a number. Okay. And plus that deposit, the amount of deposit that is required. The cost includes table chairs and also dash. There's a word missing. Additional charge.
You will see that there is an example that has been done for you. On this occasion only, the conversation relating to this will be played first.
Of course, you know that.
Hello.
Okay.
Oh, hello. I wanted to inquire about hiring a room in the village hall for the evening of September the 1st.
Let me just see. Yes, we have both rooms available that evening. There's our main hall that's got seating for 200 people, or there's the Charlton room.
The main hall seats 200, so 200 has been written in the space.
Now, let me quickly say this, that your IELTS reading question and also your listening will have the question especially when they give you options. We have the question, we have the irrelevant information and information that was mentioned, but it's not the answer also. So you have to be able to use your clue to indicate the correct question. So let's move on.
Now we shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 6.
Hello?
Oh, hello. I wanted to inquire about hiring a room in the village hall for the evening of September the 1st.
Let me just see. Yes, we have both rooms available that evening. There's our main hall, that's got seating for 200 people, or there's the Charlton room.
Sorry?
The Charlton room, Charlton. That's got seating for up to 100.
So that's the
Well,
Charlton
we're
room.
organising a dinner to raise money for a charity.
So the first one is the Charlton room, because now we have clues. The first clue says, I think the only clue there is that it seats 100. It seats 100. Here, in this case, the clue was mentioned after the option, after the answer. So in this case, it is very, very expedient that, or in all cases, it's very expedient that you listen and you retain some few information that that will be necessary for you to answer your questions very well. Now, let me say this, that more often than not, your questions are, your answers, especially when you're having to supply the answer yourself, are usually nouns. Noun is a name of a person, animal, place, or thing. All right. And you know, numbers are nouns, so they are also one part of it. So, but only on very few occasions where they ask you to what's it called now? Supply adjectives, like reliable information, comfortable room, not they something in some cases it's just like reliable, one word. In some cases, reliable, comfortable, just one word. Those are adjectives. And sometimes they ask you to talk about, to bring in the adjective, maybe where the question requires that you can bring in two words. So it goes maybe comfortable room, reliable information. All right. So because you have two words in that situation, and the first word is an adjective, and the second one being a noun. So most of the time, know that your answers are nouns, and on few occasions they could be adjectives. So let's move on.
And we're hoping for at least 150 people. So I think we'll go for the main hall. How much would that cost?
Let's see. You wanted it for the evening of September the 1st?
Yes, that's a Saturday.
Saturday evening.
So from 6 p.m. to midnight, that'd be £115. That's the weekend price. It's £75 on weekdays.
That's all right.
115.
And I have to tell you, there's also a deposit of £250, which is returnable, of course, as long as there's no damage. But we do insist that this is paid in cash. We don't take cards for that. You can pay the actual rent of the room however you like, though. Cash, credit card, cheque.
Oh, well, I suppose that's okay.
Require that you pay in cash. So cash payment is required. We do require or request that you pay in cash. We're going to play that part again. Any place where I want us to listen very carefully, we'll play it again.
You can pay the actual rent of the room however you like, though. No damage. To tell you, there's also a deposit of £250, which is returnable, of course, as long as there's no damage. But we do insist that this is paid in cash. We don't take cards for that. You can pay the actual...
They require, they request, they demand. We insist. Okay, so that is cash payment is required. All right, so let's go on. look at the word there is required. The clue there is required. We insist, we demand, we require, we request. All right, are synonyms of is required. Okay, so that is my synonym. I almost fell for maybe refundable payment is required. I almost fell for that refundable. But when I heard insist, then I know it is required. So what must be, what is it that they require? They require that there is going to, it should be cash payment. So use your clue very well. Make sure that you pay attention to your clue. Sometimes we jump too early because we don't know how to use our clues. And sometimes we are too we lag too behind because we did not know that maybe the clue has been synonymized. So we have to be very, very careful not to be too slow, not to be too early or too fast. Thank you. Let's move on.
Of the room, however you like, though. Cash, credit card, check.
Oh, well, I suppose that's okay.
All those ones are
So,
irrelevant
does the charge
information.
include use of tables and chairs and so on?
Oh, yes.
Chairs, clues.
And what about parking?
Yeah, that's all included.
Also,
The only thing that
parking.
isn't included is,
Additional.
you said you were organising a dinner.
Yeah.
Well, you'll have to pay extra for the kitchen
For the
if you want
kitchen.
to use that.
So,
It's
parking.
£25. It's got very good facilities, good quality cookers.
I think by now we know that as well as is the same thing as also. So parking is the question there. And here is the answer there. Cost includes use of tables and chairs and also parking. So, and there it is. So let's move on. Please, if you have any question, feel free to
Fridges and so on.
that we can treat it
Okay.
together.
Well, I suppose that's all right. We can cover the cost in our entry charges.
Right, so I'll make a note of that. Now, there are just one or two things you need to think about before the event. For example, you'll have to see about getting a licence if you're planning to have any music during the meal.
So,
Oh, really?
It's quite straightforward. I'll give you the details later on.
so that means we need a music license. All right. They said you need to get a license if you are going to play music or something. I think they said if you are going to play music or if you are going to use music, so then it means music license. So
And about a week or 10 days before your event, you'll need to contact the caretaker, that's Mr. Evans, to make the arrangements for entry. He'll sort that out with you.
And do I give him the payment as well?
No, you do that directly with me.
to arrange for entry.
Before you
will
hear the
notice
rest of the
that-
conversation,
That's it.
you have
25. See about getting.
Sorry. You notice that
you have some
all-
time to look at
with
all these
me.
things that
We'll
they
sort
have
that out.
been seen are
You'll need to contact.
all what's it called now? Nouns. They are all nouns so far. So let's see.
And about a week or 10 days before your event, you'll need to contact the caretaker, that's Mr. Evans, to make the arrangements for entry. He'll sort that out with you.
And do I give...
Let's take a look also. Entry, is a noun. Music is a noun. Parking is a noun. Now, what's it called now? We look at that as what's it called now? A verb, but this is one of those cases where verbs act as a noun. All right. So it is not the act of packing that is is it the action called packing that is mentioned here, but the act, the the service of parking, all right, or using a parking lot that is being mentioned here. So it's a noun. Cash, noun. I think 115 pounds is also a noun. Numbers currencies, the value, 10 meters, 10 kilometer value are basically nouns too. So I think we saw, I think I've forgotten the room, kind of room type of, okay, Charlton room. So that's a noun because even Charlton is a proper noun now, proper name. Now let me say this, that please do not try as much as possible. Okay, let's start. Let me start from here. Try as much as possible to write your answers in what's it called now? Wherever there's a proper noun, write your answer using the initial capital letter. Charlton is a proper noun. Okay, it's a specific name of a room. So capital letter C starts that spelling. And every other thing that is not a proper noun should be small letter all through. But we run the tendency, we run the risk, most of us run the risk of having to write capital letter with every word, initial capital letter, with every word that we want to write, we write initial capital letter. That will be wrong in the exam. You're going to be losing a mark. That mark, if for example, you are supposed to write just, let's say costs, for example, as the word, and you wrote capital letter C-O-S-C, capital letter C, then O-S-T, it will be wrong. It's supposed to be small letter C, O-S-T, but most of us are used to writing first letter as capital letter because we're trained by some very serious English teachers. And so we write, once we are the margin, the first letter is a capital letter, it will be wrong. You find out that that's what makes people come out of the exam and they're happy. Oh, I got everything wrong correctly. If I'm going to miss anything or get anyone wrong, it can't be more than 4. And that means that means they should be in the border of maybe 8.5 or thereabout. And then they come out from the exam and they find out that their results is 6.5. The reason is that they did not obey the rule of capitalization correctly. The rule of capitalization was not correctly used. So in that case, students should probably write in capital letter all through. Write all your answers in listening and reading in capital letter all through. Listening and reading, capital letter all through. It's advisable that way. So, Mr. Officer, your hands are up. Can we have your question?
You already answered the question, sir. I wanted to ask if it's allowed to write all the answers in capital letter all through.
Yes, you can write capital letter all through instead of worrying yourself about whether this is a proper noun or not a proper noun.
Okay, sir.
I had the students in December last year, and that was the only thing that brought her to my table because she passed everything, but listening and reading was bad. And the only thing I just told her, of course, after she has paid, the only thing I told her was just to, okay, let me see you do listening and reading. And she did listening and reading. And I told her, this one you marked for yourself is wrong, is wrong, is wrong, is wrong, is wrong. And somebody who was on a 3 point, maybe a 7.5, she scored around 34 in her reading and maybe 36 in her listening. And by the time I struck out some ones according to the rule we have just talked about, we just found out that she scored a 6.5 in the region of 29, 28, thereabout. So, and that was when my class ended with her. And then she just went to the examination hall and she passed. So can I get your answer, your question, Mr. Ezekiel?
When you are sure that there are some that will start with capital letter, the first letter, can we write that? Then the other one that you're not sure, you just capitalize them.
It's better as you should be consistent.
Okay.
It's better to be consistent. Whatever it is you want to do in IELTS, just be consistent. IELTS, not just IELTS, can be consistent. Like I was mentioning, the issue of maybe in your writing, I don't know whether it was in this class or somewhere else, that whenever you are having to write, an essay, and you want to use British spelling, make sure you use British spelling throughout. If you want to use American spelling, make sure you use American spelling throughout, okay? American is C-O-L-O-R for color. British is C-O-L-O-U-R for color. So if you want to use color as in British, use it through and through. If you want to use American, use it through and through. So consistency is very, very important. Make sure that you are consistent with whatever approach you are using in your listening and your writing. So, Ms. Nofisa, do you still have a question? Because your hand is still raised.
No, I'm okay now.
Okay, all right. All right, so let's move on. Okay, we will still, in the next maybe 2 minutes, we'll have to, maybe 2-3 minutes, we'll have to start over again because we're allotted of that our time to be out. So let's quickly see number 7 and move on from there.
Give him the payment as well?
No, you do that directly with me.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 7 to 10.
Let's keep that.
What happens during the event?
Well, as you'll be aware, of course, the building is no smoking throughout.
Of course.
Now, are you having a band?
Yes.
Well, they'll have a lot of equipment, so rather than using the front door, they should park their van round the back and use the stage door there.
Back.
You can open that from
Stage door.
inside, but don't
Okay.
forget to lock it at the end.
Back.
Okay.
And
then stage
talking
door.
of bands, I'm sure I don't need to tell you this, but you must make sure that no one fiddles about with the black box by the fire door. That's a system that cuts in when the volume reaches a certain level. It's a legal requirement.
Sure. Anyway, we want people to be able to talk to one another, so we don't want anything too loud. Oh, that reminds me. We'll be having speeches. Are there any microphones available?
Yup, just let the caretaker know. He'll get those for you. Right, now, when the event is over, we do ask that the premises are left in good condition. So there's a locked cupboard, and you'll be informed of the code you need to open that. It's got all the cleaning equipment, brushes and detergent and so on.
Right. So what do we need to do after everyone's gone? Sweep the floors, I suppose?
Well, actually, they have to be washed, not just swept. Then you'll be provided with black plastic bags, so all the rubbish must be collected up. Cleaning equipment, brushes and... Right, now, when the event is over, we do ask that the premises are left in good condition. So there's a locked cupboard, and you'll be informed of the code you need to open that.
The code.
It's got all the cleaning equipment,
Need to know the
brushes
code for
and
the,
detergent and so on.
Cleaning cupboard.
Right.
Things
So
code.
what do we need to do after everyone's gone? Sweep the floors, I suppose?
The dash
Well,
must be washed
actually,
down.
they have to be washed, not just swept.
The floor.
Then
must
you'll be
washed.
provided with black plastic bags,
must
so
be
all the
washed.
rubbish must be collected up and left outside the door.
Okay.
Of
so
course.
I'm waiting
We'll
for
make
this.
sure everything's left
All
tidy.
must be taken down.
Oh,
so let's
and
see.
I forgot to ask. I presume we can have decorations in the room?
Yes, but you must take them down afterwards.
Okay.
Sure.
All
And the
decorations
chairs
must
and
be taken down.
tables should be stacked up neatly at the back of the room.
Okay.
I'll make sure I've got a few people to help me.
So before we move on, do we
That
have any
is the
question?
end of section 1.
Do we have any question?
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Any question? Please raise your hand if you have any question before we go up and then come back. All right, so let's please go off and then we'll come back almost immediately. I'm going to start right away because we don't have much time today. We have less than 1 hour to the end of the class. We'll end it by 9 today. All right, so